People were naked. That time, people...
The way the Bazungu got us, the colonial administration, the way they got us here, they left us the same way when we got independence.
Wanted Karamoja to be outside of the colonial, independence system. But the British, the Ugandans at that time, I think in Lancaster, they said, Karamoja should not be left behind. But otherwise, they wanted the Karamojong to be given time for them to remain Karamoja in order for them to have time to develop Karamoja.
Brigadier Balukudembe during his time. The operation that was conducted was geared at nothing but torturing the Karamojong. The Karamojong, you see, those who had landed in their hands, even if they are moving, even if they are alive, they are walking as walking corpses. They are dead. Any small slight thing can do away with them. The kind of the torture they went, those people, Balukudembe and his team looked as if they were here trying to torture, to punish Karamojong for supporting NRM. I don't see the reason why government, I think Museveni is very sympathetic with Balukudembe. Balukudembe told Karamojong to hate NRM. As we talk, you cannot go and tell that dying man, even if you see him running, even if you see him walking, the tortures inflicted in his body, any slight thing can do away with him.
The Karamoja sub-region in that northeastern Uganda, bordering Kenya and South Sudan, consists of 9 districts inhabited by agro-pastoralist communities. In the 18th century, Ethiopian and Swahili ivory traders introduced cattle and guns to the area, leading to the exploitation of its elephant population in exchange for security and labor.
With their tusks, elephant tusks, and they made some people to carry as slaves. For example, my father, Loreka Isa, he was one of those that was brought by the Arabs. He's from Sudan. He was brought by the Arabs and he was carrying the elephant tusks as a slave. But when they reached Moroto district in Nakiloro, he was able to say, no, I'm not ready for that. So he joined the British, who were already
Arabs come in the name of ivory traders. I'm told those are the people who introduced the guns in Karamoja, though at a very small amount.
But the Karamojong knew how to make the blacksmith using, blacksmiths to prepare the gun, the spears, the arrows.
Before British colonization, Karamoja was sparsely populated, lacking infrastructure and health care, resorting to herbs for treatment.
Former Karamoja during that colonial era, and a lot of illiteracy, because you find that people were naked. That time, people were staying in the bushes. They were eating wild fruits.
In terms of sickness, they used to use the roots of trees. These local herbs. That's what the Karamoja used to. And I think
in 1933, Canon Robert Shepherd Clark arrived as part of the Bible Christian Missionary Society, establishing a church and schools at Lotome, Napak district.
The British, Karamoja, in 1908, they started in Napak district in a place, they entered through Napak in a place called Kayepas. Kayepas, there they were confronted by the locals who fought them with the spears when they had the guns, and then they overpowered the people, and they came to a place called Kabukonkoi. That was another confrontation they had. After those battles, they were able to defeat the natives and they marched to Moroto.
The junior, and that side was the TTC. That side was primary.
The church and the community, we had a clinic. We had a clinic there.
The British aimed to spread Christianity and education, but viewed Karamoja as a human zoo.
People see a car, they run to the bush. So simply And illiteracy, our people had Karamoja was called a human zoo.
Made a human zoo. So it was a special place which had interest. Which was, for which they had interest, ensuring that they have all of what control over Karamoja.
As Uganda approached independence, British authorities were reluctant to relinquish control over Karamoja. However, Milton Obote advocated for the region to be integrated with the rest of Uganda.
Karamoja to be outside of the colonial, independence system. But the British, the Ugandans at that time, I think in Lancaster, they said, Karamoja should not be left behind. But otherwise, they wanted the Karamojong to be given time for them to remain Karamoja in order for them to have time to develop Karamoja, because it had gone backward, it had remained backward in the rest of the region.
Since independence, Karamoja has seen significant changes, including the development of road networks such as the tarmac road connecting to Soroti to Moroto, and near-completion projects linking Karamoja to Kenya. Karamoja can also be accessed by air through Nadunget Airdrome in Moroto District and Kidepo Airdrome in Karenga District, with plans underway to upgrade them into full airports. Elders explain how education has evolved since independence.
We have already realized we have secondary schools per each sub-county, 6 secondary schools. Then there are primary schools per each sub-county, 302. Health centers.
Development coming. We are now hearing government wants a secondary school in every sub-county. Forgetting that, where will they get the children to feed all these secondary schools they will want to have in every sub-county? How many the sub-counties do we have? In Moroto alone, we have about 80 sub-counties. Out of the 80 sub-counties means we shall have how many secondary schools? 8 secondary schools. Now, why shall we get these children? And yet children are still in schools. Are still in the villages.
Despite historical insecurity characterized by cattle rustling and gun violence, relative peace has been restored. Government has held disarmament campaigns amidst resistance.
Yes, we are realizing good security because there is deployment of the army, they patrol to protect the communities.
Karamoja region has minerals where factories like the Maple plant in Rupa and the clinker factory in Nadunget have created jobs for local communities. However, there remains social issues like forced marriages and child labor, high poverty levels, food insecurity, environmental degradation that has resulted into climate change. The Karamojongs want to focus on agriculture and compulsory education to drive development in the region.
We could motorize the boreholes we have. Then we now irrigate. It's also a solution to fight against irrigation. You irrigate, you pull to gardens and everything.
The government now organized to see on how they have removed the guns. Now they should also disarm children from being there. Let the government use the forces system to grab all the child-going children, bring them to schools, primary schools, by having so many boarding schools all through, boarding schools only. These children are detached from their parents.
I am Marion Awori and Maureen Iga for UBC.